Today, first off, we get to look at my Vemoth. Finish this off over the course of the weekend, pretty much last minute. Yes, I'm not taking it off. I'm just said the word Vemoth. I think it turned out pretty cute. Adding the arms and legs made a big difference. Giving it the fangs. Don't take it off. Today, we are making snivey.
My favorite.
Yeah, your favorite. When you're done eating, let me know, okay?
Help you?
Not right now, but soon.
Grass tail.
Yeah, that's going to be... Yeah, grass tail. Good job. My son just happens to be watching Pokemon Black and White right now. And the rival in it picked a snivey to begin with, which I thought was kind of a funny coincidence. I'll try and find a spot where I can put this where I can see everything and still work. I have to angle everything weird because my sewing machine, I need to be able to reach it, then I need to be able to see my screen. Hey, Spaz.
Whose name?
That's somebody else's name. They're going to be watching me for at least a little while because this is the plush that they requested. Now I just got to get my camera set up so I can actually do what I need to do here. Got everything set up earlier today. Now we're going to see this is going to be one of the more detailed Pokemon that I've tried to do. The shape of his head is very rounded. There's got that turn up of the nose. There's a lot of little things that I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. So what I tend to do is I'll just draw that out as a fun, goofy version. Kind of super simplified because my whole plan is to make this so that people can do their own at home. They can see just how easy it is, and then worst case scenario, I could always adjust the pattern. But I had to use my experience to try and get it to be a rounded head, get the shapes in there. I have no idea what's going to wind up happening with a lot of it, so I may have to do some adjustments. But for the most part, I've actually been pretty lucky that most of these things have come together pretty nicely. With this tail, I had this kind of idea of putting the bottom straight at the bottom. And then I realized that I made the backside with one of my little wedges so that it shapes. And I'm pretty sure that I will actually be able to put the tail through here. So that's going to be pretty good. But now I have to get the leaf attached to the tail itself. So I'm going to see if I can get this to work. My thought is to sew these two together, just like that. Seems pretty simple, but honestly, shapes like this are really awkward sometimes. And if I can get it just right, then the good thing is I will be able to just sew it all as one piece afterwards. It's something I started doing a while ago when I was making different shapes, different plushes. So let's see what kind of luck I can get with that. It's kind of hard to do. With the smaller the shape, the harder it gets to be, especially at a point like that. So I'm trying to hope what I can do is get it sewn up to the edge, and then I'll come back the other direction. Now, one of the things about this is that I'm trying to show different ways to do some of the stuff that I've learned. But unfortunately, the way that I'm working this project where I'm doing the different, not Pokemon, I'm also only doing one time. In the past, as an example, let me see if I can get my plush here. If I'm trying to make something specific and I want it to be a kind of a finalized version, for example, this Coraline style jumping mouse, what I have to do is I have to make it repeatedly. What that means is this is the final version, but I had at least 4 other attempts just to get there. And see, I started off real small, got bigger, had to make some adjustments until I got the shape. I even got one that looks like a turkey now. And in order to do that, I have to try it over and over again. But for these Pokemon, my goal is to not only do it simple, but to try and find a way to make it fun as well. So I'm also doing it just as a one-time run. Basically, the idea being that if it doesn't work, no big deal. So there's a lot of little things that have come up with trying to do this, where I've had a few semi-failures, a few that turned out really cute. People really liked the Charizard that I made. I've actually got 3 more almost completed because I'm making 6 or 7. I can't remember how many I've got set aside because I've got a few orders for them, but I'm also making an extra 1 or 2, I think. Now let's see how this works out. My hope is that this will all turn into one solid piece, because then I can sew all around the outside instead of trying to sew the 2 completed pieces together. And it looks like that worked out pretty well. Let me get this extra thread out of the way and then make sure. Yeah, it looks like it came together pretty well. Oops. Now see, right there in the corner, I'll just have to sew just a little bit more, not a big deal. I think this idea will work pretty well. And it's going to give me the little flat tail with the leaf at the end. Did you ever get around to making the, let me see what that said, the core line? Yes, in fact, as a matter of fact. So last Wednesday, I made this mouse. He's even got a posable tail. This Wednesday, I'm going to put the eye on, and I'm actually going to make the suit. So we're going to have the Coraline circus bellhop suit that I'm going to make with it. So if you're still around, if you want to come around on Wednesday about the same time, I'm going to try and finish this guy off, and we're going to make an entire outfit for him. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure that I've got enough of this material pushed in. When I sewed the corner, I have to see right there. I have to make sure it goes all the way to the top. So that's one of the problems that comes with making these small shapes sewn together instead of attached separately, is that at a corner like that, it's really hard to tell when it works or not without having to test it afterwards. And it is a whole lot of extra steps, but I think it'll look better in the end. Did you like the way that I put together the jumping mouse, Linda? I don't know if I posted about that. In fact, I remember trying, but I can't remember if I actually posted the finished version of that mouse. But Wednesday, we were going to go ahead and finish that, giving it an outfit and everything. See, I've still got a small section that's not caching. I have to find where it's missing. It looks like it might be the other side. Let me go ahead and try that. Bring it across this way. All I'm trying to do is sew all the way up into the corner now. I sometimes wonder how annoying it is to watch me try and figure things out. I know that the whole point of what I'm wanting to do is show how easy it is to figure things out and how many other steps, and maybe save people some trouble by showing them ways that they can figure things out without having to go through the same steps I do. But I also I don't know how much fun that is to see. So the way that works is, now I think I've got the tail. I'll just have to repeat this on this half of the tail. Let me find the other part. This design, oh no, did I sew it on the right? Yeah, okay. This design actually wound up being a lot less pieces than most of the goofy Pokemon that I've made, which is kind of nice. Should be a little bit helpful. All right, so sewing end, proper end of, there we go. I also have to make sure that when I put it together, I sew the right sides together. See, I want it to be looking like this, so I have to make sure I keep those sides connected. Let me get some. Pinning it in place at this small of a scale really does help a lot. I'm not sure. This position is probably not all that great. Let me try rearranging. I haven't figured out a good place to kind of put the camera each time. I have to do it pretty much every time because I don't know an automatic spot for it. And then I got to wedge it all together. Okay. Sometimes when you're working with something that small, I've also learned that the pins just get in the way. Right there, what happened was the point got stuck on the machine itself. So I just had to have it in there just long enough to get started so that I can pull it out. And then let's see. I won't know if this works until I sew the other side, and that's because just like last time, I expect the corner to have some problems. But it becomes a little bit easier each time I do something. So this time I figured out a few extra adjustments. If I'm lucky again, I will nail it on the first try. Oh no. And then I go and cut the thread too short and wind up having to rethread it. I got so much. I got 3 lights here, 2 lights here. I have to replace the bulb on my sewing machine and I keep forgetting about it. I really do need to get that replaced, though. It would fix the light here, and it makes such a big difference, but I haven't had it for so long. Because the one time I did remember to go replace it, I couldn't find the right size. I wasn't sure if I was finding the right size. And bring that all the way to the corner. I don't think I'm working with anything that's so small that I need to keep the handle in there. And what I mean is whenever I sew a piece that's super small, for example, when I'm making my mice, the arms and everything are so small that what I have to do is leave the previous piece in so that I can use it to pull this thread through to kind of guide that piece in so that it doesn't get caught up in my sewing machine. Check that corner again. Yep, see, just like that. What I'm trying to do is make sure that I sew the whole thing so it doesn't have a hole in there. So, it looked like that last stitch, some of it just came off. Maybe even all of it. Doesn't even look like I got much of any of it in place. All right. Now, for anyone that is just starting, make sure that you don't cut this thread too short. When the needle moves, it actually pulls it tight, and if it's too short, it'll just pull it right back out. It's not the worst thing in the world to happen, but if it happens over and over again, it gets really annoying to have to rethread over and over and over again. Okay, so it looks like both parts of the tail will end up coming on pretty well. Let's shake this out. I got like a whole bunch of messages I didn't even realize. Oh my God, I want... Awesome, thank you, Linda. Sorry, I scrolled to read your previous message, and then I didn't realize that it was not scrolling anymore. Yes, I will be putting the jumping mice up on my Etsy shop. I got to get the bunnies specifically up there as well. I keep thinking that I've got it already set up because you can just adjust the special request on the mouse. My hope is to also get these goofy pokey monsters up soon. But the downside is I don't know if people are even interested in a lot of these things. What happens is I have to decide between putting patterns up or putting the plush up. And part of the thing is that, like with the jumping mice, I've had several requests for it, but I didn't know if it was going to be what actually people wanted. Like, for example, if I was successful enough with it. Now that I've got the leaf sewn onto the tails, I can actually just do this all with one stitch. I just have to get it through. Now, this Wednesday, I will be making, on my Weird Wednesdays, the outfit for that jumping mouse. And this, the Not Snivey, is a special order from someone who follows me. Their name is Spaz Prince, And I'm really hoping that it turns out looking cute enough because it is for their daughter. And of course, I don't want to ever be a disappointment when I'm putting these things together. Right here is the big worry that I have. It's so narrow at that one spot that I'm worried that it's going to be really too hard to get the tail right-sided out. But we're going to roll with it and see what happens, and then fix mistakes as they come. We'll figure those things out as we go, and that should make for a little process. So much fuzz and dust everywhere. Let's go ahead and sew the head together. So what I was referring to by using this as a handle, once I sewed this together, instead of cutting that off, the thread is what's going to still go to the next piece. Now, with the way that this material is, it's not super thick, but it's thick and fuzzy. So sometimes it gets caught up in the machine, or it causes it to stretch or not move, you know, that kind of thing. So what I will do is I will use the previously sewn piece and with the thread still connected, and I will give it a gentle pull to help guide it through. What I am sewing now is this wedge. Now, this is not literal. Here's the other head. Here we go. Now, what happens is if you just have a flat piece, it's going to do its best to stay flat. It'll bulge out and it'll change shape. But by sewing this wedge in, what happens is I will give it a more domed, rounded shape. So it won't be flat, and it should give the head a rounded edge. Now, the truth of the matter is that I know that this shape is not going to be perfect. I know it'll be a lot closer than it was when I first started doing stuff like this because I have got the experience. It'll be pretty close to what I'm aiming for. But if I were really concerned with it, what would happen is I would make this out of a lesser material like a bed sheet or even just like simple cotton. And I would make it and then remake it and adjust that pattern over and over again until I figured it out. So if you wind up making stuff like this at home, just keep in mind that it's just so much easier to fail on the material that you not worried about before you use the stuff that's important. Like, for example, I have to order this neon green. So the less of it that I waste, the better off I am. Again, using this as a handle, which the truth is I probably don't need right now. I'm doing it to show so that you can see what I'm doing roughly. That way, if you decide to make plushes at home, you can see some basic ideas on things like that. All right, now with this head, you can see how it kind of rounds it out instead of staying flat. There is one more detail. I'm going to have to sew just a little bit more. If you look here, you can see that it kind of gives it a little bit of an edge, a corner. What that means is I just sewed straight off and I need to round it out a little bit more. And if you just round it, I don't know. I don't think that is a Pokemon, silly goose. And what that means is I just have to round it out just a little bit more. So I'm going to round the other one out as well. Yeah, he just kind of does it sometimes. And correct this. Now, when you're sewing that part that I was just showing you, that wedge, when you round it out properly, you get this nice little round. Hey, why are you smacking me in the face? Hey, are you done eating? I need you to go eat, buddy. When you're done eating, I got something for you, okay? Oh, thank you. So my hope is that this is going to round out the top. It's going to give us a nice head, which, let me show you here. Give me that rounded edge here. I didn't draw it. Usually I try and draw the stitches, but I wasn't sure how I was going to put it together at first. And the truth is, I kind of thought I was going to put a bottom piece, but I couldn't visualize it in my head completely. I'm pretty good at visualizing three-dimensional, but there are times when there are things especially with material, that I'm not sure what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and see about this tail. I'll try and right side this out. Let me make sure that I didn't miss any stitches. Whenever using this material and a lot of other materials, I'll find that one side might stretch or the other one will. And sometimes you'll miss some stitches, especially with it being as close to the edge as I've got it. So as an example, I can see right there, missed just a little bit, but you can clearly see on this side that I got plenty of material in there. So let me do just a real quick fix on that. Just got to find all of the edge. Since I've got so many folded pieces of material there, it's a little bit harder to see what I'm working on. But I should be able to go just a little bit deeper, hopefully without closing up my opening, which my worry right now is that the corner here is going to be too tight for me to fit the material through because I have to right side it out. I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew the eye in first. I have the top here. Yep, there we go. And then I have to decide which side is going. Now, what I did was this has an obvious top because I have the fuzz. It's hard to tell, but you can see there's a direction to the fuzz. And I like to do it so that, you know, top to bottom. I view it like how it's going to be pet. So like from the nose to the back of the head is how I would pet it. From the top on the side, I would pet downward. And I think that would make it a nice, smooth little petting on your plush. So it's just one of those things that I like to do to make it feel as nice as possible. But I also marked the sides. That way I know roughly what I'm looking at as well. Now let's see. There is my corner. Here's my top. Let's go ahead and set it this way. Now, one of the things is I'm just really not sure what's going to best route to put these together. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the tan part together first, and then I'll use that as my starting point for making the round. A lot of times when I make and remake something, I can find these things a little bit easier. Hey, I had to sew it together a little bit more. Why are you so upset about that?
Tail.
Tail? Yeah, it is the tail. Yeah. When I make and remake something, I don't have to worry about whether it works the first time or not. I mean, I try to do it as much as I can. You're right here. Yeah, you want to keep it? Okay. But the good news is that I can just adjust the pattern, make changes. When I'm doing what I'm doing here, I don't have that same kind of option. And yes, I could make it over and over again. But the whole goal is a little bit more meant to be more fun and exploratory, and the idea makes it its own unique thing, even when it fails. So let's see if I can get this through. It looks like I've got enough space. It's just going to be really tight. I can get the part of the tail through. I just got to find. There we go. Okay. Just got to get that whole thing through. I should be able to get it. The material's stretching enough, soft enough, where I should be able to get it through. Just going to be a big fight to do it. And that means also trying to come up with a pattern, a route. There we go. Some of it's through. Squeeze. You can do it. There we go. Excellent. I also made this plush just a little bit smaller. I didn't have a reason for that. I was realizing that I kept making the new ones bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, that's not what I want. I kind of want them to be cuddly and travel size. So I tried to make this one back to that same size. Plus, I thought Snivey was kind of cute as a smaller Pokemon anyway. So it would make it a little bit more fun to carry a goofy Snivey around when it's smaller rather than big enough to have to carry in a backpack. All right, so that looks like it worked out pretty well. The tail, I might have made the leaf a little bit bigger. And again, if I make adjustments and do more of these, things like that will be stuff that I do later, especially when if people were to order one. Oops, I had a little bit of a mishap here. And pull my thread back through. There we go. So one of the things about this is I really want to make the first generation and the second generation because I started in gold. And I'm not talking like heart gold or soul silver. I'm talking about when it first came out. My cousin, he actually liked Pokemon and played Pokemon, and I didn't know anything about it at the time. And I thought it'd be really fun to kind of learn to play with him. And it turned out that he was too young to really play, so he had like cards but he didn't really know how to play the game. Hey, Vance, are you done? Oh, you're going to the bathroom. Okay. One of the things I started trying to do was I built my own team, so I'm trying to get to my favorite Pokemon and make goofy versions of those. But I'm also torn between what my son likes, what I think other people will like, the ones that are easier to do, because, for example, one of my favorites is Sizor, and I don't picture him being easy to goofify. I haven't sat down to try, so I don't know. But it's one of those things I'm kind of like nervous about trying the ones that I really want, which I know sounds a little bit goofy, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can understand that too. When I'm making for my son, I'm super thrilled that he has been loving all the goofiness that I've put into him. He hasn't needed like an exact and perfect Pokemon, so that's also super helpful. It makes it a little bit of fun knowing that he's down for me to make the goofy versions of them. Another thing that I've been trying to do, and I started this last week. Vance, are you done eating? Yeah? I have decided that I am going to let him open some Pokemon cards when we are on live. You want to open your Pokemon now? Yeah. The downside is it's kind of hard to find Pokemon. So I have to like withhold a pack from him every so often when we get him. Yeah, you want to come open it? All right, come on.
I muscle.
Your muscle? What's on your hand, silly? All right, buddy. Yeah. All right. Here you go. Let's get this out of the way. This is the one we're opening today. All right, turn it around. Wait, put it right here. There you go. Turn it around. There you go. Hand me the ones that you... Cute bird.
No, this.
Yeah, this one's I think it's like a cat.
This.
Yeah, that's a bird. Okay.
Whose name?
That is a Wattrel, and that one is an Excalibur.
And this one.
Oh, that's a Executor. It's like an Alolan Executor.
My favorite.
Yeah, they're all your favorite, aren't they? And eventually he's going to have a favorite, and I'm going to make him a goofy version and a scary version and a special version, all for him.
What?
Ooh, you got both parts of that bird.
Ooh, that's cool.
Ooh.
Cool.
Ooh, the Palladian Tauros.
This one.
Oh, that's neat. This is a future Pokemon. I don't even know what that means.
Yes.
Shroodle. Ooh. Oh, you got one of the diamond ones. What is this one? Is a palace sand? Oh, it's like a sandcastle. That's really cool. I'm going to have to ask Mommy to put that in the closet for me.
Can we also say that's the one?
This is the winner. The Palladian Tauros. Go ahead, put both those in that closet.
Sure.
All right, buddy. Go ahead, take your cards. Hey, you want to take them all or just the ones that you like? Just the ones you like? Okay, then I'll deal with the rest of them later. No. Those ones are going to be for Mommy, and we're putting those aside. Not to play with. All right, back to work, everybody. How dare you let me enjoy my child playing with Pokemon. Once again, I'm making the Snivey. Spaz Prince actually ordered this specifically for somebody special. So I'm trying to make this on the first try. Of course, what may happen, since she's ordered it, that once I am done, she may decide that she wants me to make some changes to it, make some adjustments. Her hope and request was that I make it both cute and goofy. So my goal is to do exactly that. Again, what my overall plan with making these guys is to show people that you can make something on your own. You don't have to be perfect the first time. And to show you a lot of little things that I do to make it a little bit easier on me. Some of the things that I've learned in the process of making plushes. And it's a lot of fun to be able to do it your own way. And I think that it's important that people not get nervous. I saw a lot of people in my comments tell me that they want to start sewing or they want to make a plush, but they don't know how. They don't know where to start. So hopefully this will be something that shows people a lot of little things that makes it easier to be more confident just to start. Because here's the truth. You're probably going to fail. It's probably not going to work several times, but you'll learn something each time. And even if you don't do anything near the same as what I do, you'll find that there's a lot of things that will become easier the more you fail at it. And that in itself becomes a little bit more comforting as you go. So here, one of the things I learned is that when you sew a piece into a hole like this, that you have to make the inside piece a little bit bigger. And what's going to happen is between the two of these, you're actually going to lose a little bit of space. Now, I guesstimated when I did the paper drawing and cut this stuff out, knowing that I might have to cut this smaller. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you roughly what I'm talking about. Let's see, this is the... Oops, I got to make sure I do it the right direction. I want to make sure the fuzz goes backwards. So there's backwards. Here we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this. Let me go ahead and cut this corner off since it's not going to be helpful. All right, so I've got the empty space for the eye. Again, I'm going to double check to make sure. I'll go ahead and move just enough stuff out of the way. Lay the eye flat. And I'm going to give this the general shape that it's going to have. Now, when it comes down to it, I'm going to do a lot of estimation because it's not a perfectly rounded shape. But you can see here, actually I need to move it down just a little bit. If you're wondering why I'm using a pen, it's because with this material, I actually can't get soapstone or colored pencil to stick. It just rubs right off. All right, so I've got my circle here. It looks like I might actually be okay. I'm going to go ahead and trim it up just... Chip! I'm going to trim it up just a little bit so you can see roughly what I'm referring to. You can see how I'm going just a little bit bigger than my circle is. Now, I don't have an exact measurement for you. I can't tell you make it exactly 1/4 of an inch or anything like that because what tends to happen is I do a lot of shapes. I did a key shape one time doing this exact same concept, and the best I could do is guess just a little bit bigger. But here's where the part was a little bit easier to figure out. What I'm going to do now, since this circle is flat, I'm going to use that as the side that I pin it on. But I am going to pin these together. Now, what will happen with that is a few things. First off, you get to see if your shape fits. Okay, so when you go through, you can tell, you know what, I'm actually going to pin this side. That way I can actually get the pins out as I sew. You can tell if it's going to fit. There is another method for doing this that I will show you in... Ow, son of a gun. Me not stab myself over and over again. There is another method for doing this that will probably be easier. I'm just trying to show you multiple plans here. So you can see that what I'm doing is I'm putting them together super slowly and temporary using the pins. You'll find what is easiest for you. For example, you might find it's easier to do it on this side. I like to do the flat side because I don't have to worry about all the curves, all the seams. I can just line everything up as I go. The other method, I did it on a live when I was actually doing a snake. And the thing is they called it basting. I didn't know the name. I am all self-taught. I figured all this stuff out on my own. There are very few things that I was able to learn through YouTube without having to actually do it myself. Stuff like how to reset my bobbin, how to spool my thread. Those are things I definitely had to look up. But what I am doing right now was something I just kind of learned on my own. Now you can see what I'm talking about. See, the circle is so big that it's not going to pin easily. I could stretch the bottom and I could pull this one in, but that'll just cause little waves in your stitches. And you don't really want to do that. So what I'm going to do is freak out because I keep hearing the dog barking over. And there's no reason for that. I just get overstimulated, just like a lot of people, I'm sure. Chip, that's enough. So now I should have that cut just small enough. And if it's not, I don't have to pin it perfect. I just got to get it close enough where it looks good when I sew it together. One good thing that will also come out of this is I'll know what I need to do. Oh my goodness. It's hard to talk over a barking dog. I know that you can hear him, and I know that it probably sounds super loud over the microphone too. And I'm very sorry. They've moved to the back room, so hopefully that'll help out a little bit. And you can see how it's all lining up just a little bit better. One good thing about doing it this direction and using the pins on this side is it also holds the excess back. The relevance to that is I don't have to worry about it folding and getting in my way because I've already got it pinned down. The dog has been neglected apparently all day because as soon as my son came home, he just started barking and wanted to play. I threw that ball for him for over an hour. I love him. I have a Chihuahua. He is part Chihuahua, part Dachshund. And I can't remember. I think they called it a Chewini. But my wife has also referred to him as a Velcro dog because apparently they stick to you. And he likes my son, but also is nervous about my son. So anytime I play with him, it's like he gets a little defensive and a little interested in playing. Love the dude. He was 4 years old when we got him. He was missing a bunch of his teeth. So sometimes when he's standing there, he's got one fang hanging out, and it's hilariously cute. If you can't tell, I was using the previously sewed on piece as a handle, as I mentioned before. There's so many pins in the way that basically everything is just kind of catching. So I'm trying to get those out at the same time. I go ahead and put the needle down. This way I can pull out a couple pins so that they are not in the way. It is a little bit easier since I've got them facing in. So that I can actually pull the pins out as I go. But I don't do that very often because I don't feel like it as easy to get them where I want them. But it is nice to be able to pull them out instead of having to worry about them the whole time. Line some of this up. Trying to do it just slow enough that I don't have any extra material from the bottom side getting caught up in there. And making sure that it stays lined up at the same time. You would think that the pins would hold it perfectly. They do not. Very few things hold things perfectly, and you'll find that sometimes while you're stitching, stuff will still move around. But the good news is, just like I did with the the leaf on the tail, you could always just restitch. And it gets a little bit easier when most of it's already put together because then you don't have to worry about the pins getting in your way. And since it's already mostly in place anyways, you only have that small sections that you miss. And I think I'm going to leave this in there. I did kind of take mental note of how much I needed to cut off of this. So I'm hoping that I can get pretty close to the same. And we'll find out in just a moment. Plus, I'm going to show you the basting technique that I was referring to, which was something I started doing on my own and had no idea what it was called until one day live when I was doing this, somebody told me. I've got to figure out what color I'm going to use now, though, because I have my white in there and I don't want to pull that out. I do not have extra. I'm going to go get my green. I'm going to be right back. I'm very sorry. I'll be right back. So if you are wondering what color thread I'm using if I'm not using green, maybe you think I have extra green or whatever the case may be, I'm actually using a white thread with this. And that's because the white thread will hide really well in this green and this white and the yellow, and I don't have to switch back and forth. Part of the reason for that is because I don't want to switch back and forth. It's aggravating, it's time consuming. It's not the worst thing in the world, and if I'm doing an important project, I definitely do. But it's not important. So essentially what happens is, this is my way of showing you that even though you're using multiple colors, you don't have to have a thread for each and every color. And knowing that makes it a little easier to kind of start sewing, because you think, oh, I don't have to have it. I don't have to spend so much money on everything and not even know what I like. For example, maybe you're not sure that you want to keep sewing, or maybe you don't have very much of a certain color. You can use purple and black or whatever color kind of blends in. And a lot of times I'll just use black for dark colors and white for light colors. And you can't really notice. I would show you on my other Pokemon, my Vemoth that I just made, but my son took off with it. However, I can show you as an example. This is sewn together with whites. It's very small, very simple, but you can't see the white material in there because it's all pretty close to the same. And then, depending on the circumstances, I'll use like whites, grays, blacks. Depends on what I've got for each one. All right, so let me go ahead and get this cut off. The other half of the head. See the eye? Once again, I want to make sure that my material goes the right direction, so it's going front to back. Let me cut this edge off. Once again, I had it a little bit too far. And, all right, front to back. So I'm just going to go ahead and start here. And for the basting, I believe it's pronounced basting. All I'm doing is a running stitch. And what a running stitch is you start it, just go in. I'm just going to pull to the end of the thread. And you literally in, out, in, out, in, out. After this stitch, I will do it exactly like that. I am doing just a very short little running, just this, poke it through and then bring it back. Poke it through and bring it back. And you can see that what I'm doing is I'm moving the two pieces of fabric so the edges line up. This honestly works so much better when you're doing this technique. I usually don't even use pins when I'm doing something like this. This is also one of the few things where I almost always will do something to line up the two edges. A lot of times you've probably noticed that for the most part, I didn't use pins to put this together. But by doing this, I don't have to worry about needles getting in the way. And this thread can just stay in there. I don't have to worry about pulling it out. So I'm just going to be sewing right over what I've already done. And it'll make it really nice and easy to do. I used to do this for everything. I would sew literally every piece together doing this exact method because I wasn't confident enough to just kind of wing it. And I hadn't started using pins because I didn't have any pins. So if all you've got is thread and one needle and you need to get the practice lining up your two pieces, you can do this for any two pieces that you are connecting. When I sewed this wedge, you can use this exact method to just kind of sew that off. Connect all your pieces and just run with it. Just run the sewing machine right over your stitch. It looks to me like I may have actually cut this eye the right size because it fits almost perfectly. Now, you don't have to worry about tying this off. If you were sewing two pieces together, you would definitely want to tie it off. But for what I'm doing, all I needed to do is leave it loose. I'm going to start sewing roughly where I ended the stitch, which is also where I started that stitch. And it's a lot easier to watch. You won't have to pull out the pins. You do still have to make sure your material does not kick up to the side. You want to make sure that the tooth ends that you've lined up don't wind up catching any of the other fabric, but it's so much easier. And again, using this as a handle, just pulling that ever so gently. Since it is a circle, I don't risk just feeding it through. I will pretty much just go slowly, readjusting all the material as I go each time, both parts. And that's just kind of a habit for me. I haven't sewn circles like this like every day. And I'm sure that if I did, then I wouldn't have to worry about being so cautious with it. Just a little bit more practice. So if you wind up doing this kind of thing regularly, you'll find a lot of little things like this become easier to do and you have to do less steps. I always think about when I was picking up the material one day, one of the people at the craft store was saying, yeah, I know how to sew, and I can't do it at granny speed. And I laughed because it occurred to me that while granny speed might be derogatory in a lot of things, if you're talking about sewing, granny speed is like the utmost of compliments. Because I've seen videos of experienced people sewing, and what I'm doing right here, they just all in one step, and it just runs right through, and it kind of makes me laugh that would be what I would call granny speed when it comes to sewing. And finish this off, and we will look at the... Yes, sir? Which one? Oh, no, this is Mommy's. Take that back to Mommy. We don't want to break that. He's showing me the Beetlejuice, tiny Beetlejuice pop that she got. Here, take that back to Mommy, please. No, I don't want to take him out. That's Mommy's. All right, so here's our face. Looks to me like I did get a couple folds right in here. It's
That's what it says.
imperfect. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it says it every time.
That's weird. I changed that every time, too. On my end, it says that I'm doing something very different. I wonder how that works out that way, because it also shows... It shows, like... the description of what I'm doing live, it shows something I did like my second live ever or something like that. All right, buddy, I need you to leave those down. No, there's nothing you can help with right now. Yeah, you think so? Okay, let's go ahead and get this body together. We're going to do the same thing. Now, normally what I would do is I would sew these wedges first, but my intention is to slide the tail out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to sew the backs together, leaving an opening where I can put the thread, the stuffing in, and then once the most of the body's together, I will put the tail in and sew that last part. So let's go ahead and do that real quick so I can use this as a handle again. Again, my goal is to keep myself with a little bit that I can use as a handle pretty much every time. And I've found a lot of circumstances, no matter how much I perfected a pattern, I've made so many little mice that I've learned that almost never does it come out the exact same. Something will wind up happening between the body and the feet. So whenever you're sewing something like this, if it doesn't line up perfectly, I mean, look at the two differences. I've got a corner here and I've got like a missed corner here. That's not something you have to worry about. You'll find that you can actually make those line up well enough where you just find what's missing and adjust accordingly. So don't worry about everything being perfect. Even when you're making your own patterns, stuff like that, you don't have to worry about. I do like to line up something like these wedges that I've got. And if I can get those to line up, I'm usually pretty happy because it makes it feel like a solid line. Otherwise, what will happen is when you put it together, you're going to have this weird uneven stitch. But even if that happens, it's not the worst in the world. You can still roll with it. People probably won't even notice it. If someone was being super critical about it, yes, they'll see it. And yes, they might give you a hard time. But that's also not something you need to worry too much about. It's not like you're doing this on an assembly line for some rich dude that's going to get mad because you don't make his product perfectly perfect and make him billions of dollars. Now, I'm really not sure what this head is going to do. There's a lot of guesswork in what I did here. Knowing two things. One, that if I needed to, I can fix it later. And two, I'm not aiming for perfect. So we're going to find out together exactly how this is going to come up. Stop right there. Trying to make sure that I line up enough of this to kind of keep all these parts pretty much even. And the downside is that I don't have anything I can really use as a handle over here. I did try and curve up the nose a little bit. So I've got this little curve, but I know that what I'm sewing, there's no way of knowing if it's going to droop down, if it's going to take that shape. So we're going to see how that works out. I tried to add just a little bit extra when I sewed it, just a little bit of a loop. So with luck, it'll still look really good. This head is going to be a little bit small, but that's on purpose. I believe that I have made the pattern for the body equally small, so it should line up pretty well. Right here, I can see that I don't have a rounded part. It looks like it comes right back out. So when I sew this together, I'm actually going to try and change the shape of the just a little bit by starting my curve just a little bit early. And here's where I started. You can actually see where it's connected. I'm going to leave a space here so that I can right side it out and stuff it. Sew the bottom part together. Now this should wind up being the flat bottom of it. And if it works the way that I'm anticipating, the opening that I've left, this wedge, will work perfectly for me to slide the tail into. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. This is the part that I'm not sure what happened. It looks to me, and I will double check. So remember I've mentioned before how sometimes the different fabrics will shift on you, and you might wind up missing some stitches. The way I check it is I just take my handy dandy little chopstick and I run it all the way along the edges. Sometimes it's hard to see, sometimes it's real easy to see, but for example, in that nose, I can't tell what it did or didn't do. So I'm pressing into that nose to see, and it looks like I got most of it. It is kind of unfortunate that there's so much material up here though. So what I'm going to do, in order to keep that small nose, I'm going to cut off a bunch of the excess. You don't want to cut to your stitch. If you cut all the way to the stitch, it'll just come undone on you. And here's a little bit hard to tell because see, I've got this seam, this seam, this seam, and this one. So it's a little bit hard to tell exactly where the stitch is. But once I have located it, looks like right about here. I can do a little bit of extra cuts. And again, I don't have to worry too much because I can fix it later and I can double check to see if I accidentally cut off the nose. Looks like I'm good. I could probably break it by pushing it through hard enough, but that's obviously not something I want to do. Now, my original plan was to have a flat piece on the bottom to give it a little bit extra shape, but I'm hoping that this turns out so that it has the shape without that extra bottom. And if it does, I might do some adjustment for that right now. Or doesn't, then I might do some adjustment. So let's hope together. All right. So I got a nice little point. Not too shabby. Now, if you wind up sewing something like this together and there's still a whole bunch of fabric here, you might feel a little bit of a knot. If it's too much of a knot, what you can do is you can actually hammer it down and it kind of adjusts how the fabric is sitting and it reduces the weight, the toughness of that knot, make it a little bit easier to work with. But I think that it's turned out pretty decent. I think that because I don't have the flat piece, there's going to be a couple of folds in here. And that's because what's happening is I've got a rounded piece that I'm trying to make three-dimensional. Now, if there was an extra flat piece just right here, it would adjust the way that that sets. But let's go ahead and stuff this up. And then we'll use that for a couple things. We'll find out where the eyes need to go for sure. Oh no, I meant to do something else. I may wind up undoing this. I meant to put the little mouth in there. Just a tiny little embroidered mouth on one side of it. That's one of the biggest problems that I've had when I've been working on my Not Poking Mondays. I have these ideas and parts of it, but because I've not done one before, there's occasions that little steps get left out and forgotten. And I won't know until I get to that point. What I might be able to do is break the seam right here all the way across, and then I might be able to just kind of put this under and do a embroidered piece right there. But let's see what this looks like. And if that is the case, it's something I will do off camera. I don't want to have to break the whole thing and then essentially start that part over. And I did that before when I did my slow poke. If my wife is still watching, which she might not even be listening, I'm hoping that she hears and will bring me that slow poke. I'm not even sure where it is. I make them for my son, And then he winds up just loving them. And I just realized that I am a little bit behind on the Pokemon that I have to make because somebody has an order for a Rapidash, and I remembered making one and forgot that I have to make another one. I am so sorry. I doubt you are here, but if you ordered a Rapidash from me, I am so sorry that I haven't made it already. That's going to be one of the very next things that I make, in addition to the other Pokemon that I'm putting together for orders as well. And it's been long enough since I did that I feel actually really bad that I haven't finished that. Sorry, guys. What happens is I'm doing everything. This isn't something that I've got, somebody helping me with. There's not really a whole lot that anybody in my house could even help with. So because I'm doing everything, sometimes things get away from me, and I'm very sorry about that. I am doing everything I can to keep that from happening. But if we have family issues or there's school stuff going on, there's a lot of things that can take away from the only little bit of time that I have to work. And I think that while I would definitely put a piece underneath, I actually feel like this kind of has the shape that we need. All right, stretch that out just a little bit. Give it nice and full. Keep dropping him. What do you think, Spaz? Do we like the shape of that head? I think it's working out pretty well. I mean, you can see that it's not perfect. This right here is a little bit odd shaped because of the way that I had to put it together. And I could definitely adjust that. But I think it kind of has what we need. And then when I sew it to the body, it'll just look like that. So what do you think, Spaz? Oh, you love it? Awesome. Fantastic. And then I'll put the eye here, of course. All right, now, let's go ahead and get the last of these things put together. Ooh, I almost completely forgot the hood. Okay, so this is going to be another one of those tricky spots. Let me go ahead and sew this together real quick because the next part I'm sewing together is the belly. I'm going to be putting that directly onto the neck. Oh, this is going to be one of the ones that I'm not sure how it's going to work out at all. The intention is to sew this hood on in a way that it naturally curls back like Snivey's cloak does. And it's going to be flat. I made it purposefully uneven so it'll look lower on one side than on the other. But again, what's happening is I'm going to have a whole section of it sewn into, much like I did with the leaf, but it's also extra rounded because it's supposed to hug the shape of the neck. So I've got a whole lot of room to kind of mess this one up. I'm just glad I remembered it when I did, because the neck is actually the next thing I'm sewing together. Let me make sure that I got this body sewn on right. Looks like that's together, that's together. All right. Again, I'm going to leave an opening right here. This is for the tail, but I'm going to leave like an inch or so opening so that I can right side it out and stuff the the filling in there. So I have to make sure I don't sew too close to my previous stitches. And right up to the edge again. Okay, now, let me check this real quick. Yes, yes, yes. Corner's good. Corner's good. Okay, and cut off my corners. One of the things about something like this, see these sharp curves like this? You're going to want to cut off the excess at the corners to get what you want. This one I don't have to worry about because it's going inside another stitch. But if you have a sharp curve like this, I have found that cutting little slits right up to your stitch allows the fabric to actually take that turn. Otherwise, as an example, I'll show you real quick. It kind of binds up compared to that taking the sharp curve. You see how much of a sharp curve that took compared right here? It's a little bit harder to tell because they are different shapes, but you can tell that this one has actually got a sharper curve. And you'll find that with, let's say, like between toes. If you are doing something like a dragon that's got 3 toes, if you put this little slits in between those toes, you'll get exactly what you want, as opposed to it just kind of binding up. Okay, curve around. Let's see what we got. See, you can already tell that's much better curve this time. Okay. Now this is going to be the hood. I really considered the idea of making it like just even, so that it's the same length on both sides. But there's a part of me that just loved the idea of making it so that it's one side is a little bit bigger than the other. I just hope that it looks good in the end. It's one of those things I could definitely change either on this one or on the next one. I could unstitch and kind of go from there. I'm going to leave that. No, I'm going to take this off so that I don't have to get confused. Okay, now here is, oh, I got one more wedge to show. Man, there's so many different things that I have to put together that, again, since this is the first and only time I might wind up doing this, that I keep forgetting about. I've got other plushes that I've made several of that I don't make very often. And even in that situation, I remember a lot of things better than I do on these plushes. This is another one of those wedges like I did at the back of the head. So I want to make sure I get it fully rounded. And I'm bummed that I didn't do that right, but I think what I could do, no, I'm going to have to cut this loose no matter what I do. But I can at least check the belly. See, I got a nice little rounded part there. Yep, that's good. I'm afraid that, see, if I don't cut so that rounded edge right here, it turns into a corner. And that kind of looks awkward sometimes on a belly, because then it kind of turns it into a crotch, and I'm not interested in that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this hood in as I sew it, much like I did the leaf on the tail here. Now the downside is that because I want it to look like this, I have to make sure that it's going to take some extra stitches. What I may wind up doing, and in fact I think it's just going to be easier to go ahead and plan this way, is I'm going to do that basting again. So I'm going to get my green back out. Actually, no, I can use my white. Save my green for later. I do that because occasionally I'll have to embroider with a color that I don't have very much of. And if I use the colors that I have plenty of, it just seems more prudent. So once again, you're going to see how the basting works. If you don't already know, you put a single piece of thread through the needle. And if you pinch the two ends together between your fingers, wrap it around your forefinger, and pull back again between, you can roll and pull at the same time. And a real easy peasy little knot. Yes, it is the exact same thing as if you're doing a simple knot, but sometimes it's easier than trying to tie and loop and find all your corners and do all that other stuff. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and use the white side out and get this lined up. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to do the basting, which is going to be a running stitch. As I go, I'm just going to fold this in between each stitch. Now what will happen is the hood will take the shape as I go and assure that it goes into the right place. But let's see here, double check, bring that close to the edge. And first start off by just pulling it tight. Now, with each new stitch, I'm going to line this yellow up so that all four, and I say four because there's two sides of this yellow, all four ends of the fabric line up together. This would be an example of why using needles just isn't very prudent. Holding that together with needles is just, it's not impossible. You'll probably have to use like twice the needles, which also means that much more that it can get caught up in your sewing machine, plus that many more chances to stab yourself. And as I've already mentioned before, I'm not a fan of stabbing myself. I also left just enough extra so I don't have to worry about it getting it perfectly in. I have this little bit of extra yellow so that I don't have to worry about that so much. If you have it set as perfectly as you can, it's definitely not a problem. It's just not as easy. So give yourself just a little bit of allowance, a little bit of wiggle room for if you were to mess up or if something shifts on you. And that's why I'm not too concerned about getting that corner all the way sewn into it. Now, one thing I am going to do, I'm only going to sew about a couple more stitches, just enough to hold it in place. If I were sewing all the way around, I wouldn't do this part. But I want to start and do the same thing going this way. It'll be much easier to go down than it will be to tuck it in if I sew all the way around and come back up. So I'm going to do just a quick little back stitch, which means that I just came out here. So I'm going to go back between the two, pull it tight, and I'm going to do that one more time. And I'm just doing that because I don't want to really tie this off. I just need to make sure that it doesn't pull out when I start working the other direction. It's just a simple little way of kind of going through it. And it shows how easy it is to stop and start this basting that I'm referring to. Okay, now I'm going to just go ahead and start right here. Make sure that I get through it all. And there we go. All right, now, once again, folding that hood down as I go. It will cause this to bunch up. It's going to cause some changes, some different things to happen, but all that stuff should be far enough in where you don't have to worry about it catching, showing, and then once you sew it together and right side it out, most of that stuff will disappear. This is not perfected. This is going to be goofy, but it's purposefully goofy. And if you're doing something like that and you're using like a cheaper material, you'll learn all the little things that you need to do so that when you do it with the better material, you've already made the mistakes and redone it. So you might find a different method of sewing things like this together as well. For example, I started off with different shapes for the back of the head. So my mouse, I used to think that the back of the head had to be just this size. And after doing this several times, I learned that I can make it quite a bit bigger and just kind of change the shape as I hand stitch it. And it works so much easier because I used to get the ears caught. It wouldn't sew together. I kept missing stitches. So the same thing happens with a lot of stuff like this. So if I was putting a collar in something else, I might come up with a different plan, different pattern to put it together, different method. And you'll learn that as you do it more often, even when you think you've already got a successful pattern. It's not a bad thing to keep readjusting and keep learning from your mistakes, or to realize there's easier ways to do the same thing you've already done 1,000 times. And the good thing is that nobody's going to know unless you tell them. And maybe your pattern will look a little different, but that's also not a big deal. Now, one thing I am going to mention, I'm sewing the belly inside here, and I can already tell that I'm slightly off on shape. So what I'm going to wind up doing is, I'm only slightly off. See, I actually have my center line with the center line here. So what's going to happen is this belly is going to be just a teeny bit too big for the body. And that's totally okay. But it looks to me like I may have measured it pretty well on paper when I was putting it together in my head, which again was more of an experience thing and a little bit of luck. But if you find that you are off by just a little bit, you might find that you can shift just a little bit too. For example, you could stretch the green just a tiny bit, or you could bunch up the yellow, or vice versa. And you might find that you don't have to make much of an adjustment, especially on your prototypes, and that it'll still let you see what it's going to look like in the end. I'm happy that this is pretty darn close, so lucky me, but still, these are two very different shapes that I'm putting together. You can see right here there's an in and a shape that I've got from the neck. I've got in at the belly, and it comes back out towards the bottom. And then the belly itself is basically a teardrop. So what's going to happen is between the two of these, I'm hoping that it comes up with a shape very similar to what I've got here. And again, that's if it works, it's a combination of luck and experience. Because even with the experience, I've found a lot of things that I just don't do right, especially not on the first try. I've still got this frog that I've been working on forever for a customer, and I've made so many tries, and I've changed the way I built that pattern so many times. All right. I've got a lot. I don't know if you can see it. Here, let me go ahead and flip. You see all that dust flying off here? I mention this just about every time on live because what happens is my nose starts to itch and I feel bad for having to itch my nose in the middle of a conversation. All right, now, if anybody's interested, I'm gifting. Oh, no, we got another gifter here. That's so awesome. I have a feeling that Jay is not somebody you should be trusting. If anybody's messaged me anything and I haven't noticed, the problem is that I'm looking over my camera and my computer, my phone screen while I'm working. So it's really hard for me to focus on that and then still see. But please feel free to message me at any time. You could send me a direct message on TikTok. I will answer any questions that I missed. I can take requests. And you can also feel free to send me multiple messages here. I am not going to get upset if I look later and see that I've got the exact same message from somebody like 10 times because it took me that many times to actually see it. I enjoy interacting with people. It's just that sometimes I'm trying to both teach and work, and it's hard to see my phone because I have to look over it. And again, I am leaving this open for the tail. I have the back open for the place that I'm going to stuff it and right side it out. But for your preferences, you might actually prefer to have the opening at the bottom of the belly. I like to have it at the back because it seems like the easiest place to hide because everybody looks at the front of a plush. But if you decided you want to have it here, you could always just stop sewing, move over, and then continue sewing a little bit afterwards. I do suggest that you always backstitch anywhere that you do stop. And the reason is it keeps your thread from unraveling on you, makes it a little bit stronger. But it's just something to keep in mind. There's no reason that you should feel like you have to do anything in a certain way. I will show you here in a minute how to close that up as well. All right. Get this out of the way. I'm not even going to look at this body yet. I'm going to go ahead and stuff this tail in there, and we're going to look at the body all at one time. I figure if it fails, it fails, but if it's successful, it'll be fun to see it all come together at the exact same time. And you can see, here's where I left the other opening, where I can right side it out. These people are getting nuts. Oh, you're talking about the people with the... Yeah. Let's see if I can delete that. I've never actually tried. Block account. Confirm. There we go. Yeah, I get those all the time, and I just kind of make fun of them. I picture it's probably just some bot anyways. It's not even like a real person trying to scam somebody. It's just some program. All right, now, with the tail, I want to keep it as flat as I can. So I'm kind of trying to stuff it in. I know I made it too wide. Now, what may wind up happening is I may have to just kind of stuff just a little bit extra like this. But no, I don't want that there. So maybe what I will do, let's see how much of it fits in here. You got to bring it all the way to the edges. And I'm going to see how close to the edge I can get it without it bunching up anywhere. And it looks like I can get pretty close to the edge. Cool. My main goal was to get as much of it on there as wide as I could. And even knowing that I made it too long, it was better than making it too short. So I think that should be about right. Let me go ahead and get some pins. That should help me hold one side in while I mess with the other side. And if I were to remake this, one of the things I would do is just make this longer and a little less wide. I used the measurement on this to try and see how close I can get it. So it looks like what I'm going to do is slide this out just a little bit more. Pin it back in place. And then try one more on this one. Okay, so we've got here. Got to make sure all my edge is completely pulled out. And I think that should be what I'm aiming for, right about there. It looks like this is nice and flat. Looks like the whole thing will be flat instead of having the little bunched up, kind of like what happened here. I don't want this to happen on the tail end because the tail end is not going to have the option of, since that's where I'm going to sew it on, I can actually hide that on the body itself. So I'm trying to avoid that being an issue. And let's give this a shot. Run that straight through. I'm just going to run it off a couple stitches. There we go. And then run backwards. What's up, buddy?
You put my head.
No, I need that. Not my head. I'm going to need that, you silly. Okay, well, you better bring it back here in a minute.
No.
Yes, because I got to put it on the body.
Mommy.
You think so? All right. Now, for me, I like to cut off a lot of the excess threads, but that's not necessary, especially when it's something that's going to be just tucked inside anyways. But I kind of get weird about it sometimes, so I just do. All right, let's see if I got any messages here. I'm just doing a quick scroll. The downside is I can't hit message. And I get all these new co-host options. Someone joined as a guest. And I love to be able to see those. I wish I could see more. And by the way, hi, Cat B. I forgot to say hi. I just saw you. I just replied to you, but I forgot to say hi. And I feel sorry. I'm sorry about that. All right. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, grass. Yeah. Let's get this tail through first. It'll just be easier to start with that. There we go. Pull all the way through. It's a little bit hard. You could always leave your openings bigger. I don't leave them big because of habit. I should leave them big when I'm doing something like this anyways. But I like to keep them smaller so it's easier to hide my stitches. But if it's bigger, it's easier to pull everything through. Oh, I think the collar came out kind of nice. Oh, that's going to look good. And if I'm lucky, if I did it just right, that's going to be just flat enough where it sets and the tail sticks out the back. What I will do later is I will go through and I will undo the stitch at the bottom and I will actually sew the feet in and then I'll add little arms as well. But I think that this is going to do pretty much what I was hoping it would. And it'll keep the flat tail. Snivey has that flat little end to their tail. Kind of like the suit, a tail of a suit. And I really think that's actually going to come together. Can't relate to the crotch. Yes, the cutting off the excess does help a lot when it comes to the shape as well. Like, for example, right in here, I had to cut off all that excess. But there are times it's kind of like, I'm not too worried about it. And right here on the tail, my hope is that it would be just enough in here to help give it something to stay flat with as well. It may not work that way because of the shape that it's in, because it's rounded. But that's the hope on part of that as well. Now, another thing, if you guys have or haven't noticed, I mentioned it earlier, I did purposefully make this one smaller, not just because I felt Snivey looked cuter smaller, but because I realized that every time I was making one of these, I was making it bigger and bigger. The slow poke that I made is huge in comparison. Vance, could you do me a favor? Can you bring me Slowpoke and Venomoth? Yes, please. Maybe. I don't know where they are. Could you look and see? Yeah, they might be in Mommy's room. They also might be in Papa's room. I can't help you. I'm working on something. And if you can't find them, it's okay. I just asked if you could by chance. All right, you can see here that's a little bit hard to stuff the fluff into that little hole. But for me, it's just easier than it is trying to sew that whole thing. Not that sewing a big end opening is hard, but I like knowing that I can hide it better. When I was first learning how to do this, I had to make it small so that when I sewed this closed, I wouldn't have to worry about it being visible. Oh, thank you, thank you. Thank you. This, see what I mean by making them bigger? This is my Slowpoke, and he wound up being huge, especially in comparison to like my Charizard. Hey, what are you doing? I need that in there, silly. You just pulled it out. Yeah, I will in just a few moments. Why don't you leave that head right there?
No, my favorite.
It's your favorite now?
Yes.
All right, I still need you to leave it there, please, if you would. Let me go ahead and finish putting this together. I'm almost done, and I can actually sew the head on, okay? But I also have to put the eyes in, too.
My favorite.
Yeah, your favorite.
I help you idea.
All right, you want to push that in? Good job. Thank you so much. Sorry? No, that's okay. Chip. Chip. There's not even anything going on for him to bark at. He just loves the... He wants to get some attention, which, you know, that's fine. He's still a puppy. But then he barks and barks and barks, and he wants us to throw the ball, and then he barks and barks. All right, let's see here. I think the collar is going to look great. I might wind up stitching right along here so it holds a better shape. Here's Chip. Say hi, Chip. Chip. All right, let's see. Could you turn... Oh, you know what? I can turn this on. Can you make sure that fan is on for me? Yeah, could you turn that fan on for me?
Yeah, I'm hot.
It's starting to get hot. Yeah, I'm hot too. You're not even in the lights, dude. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit more fluff to make sure that it holds its shape. Another thing that I have learned is that when I understuff these things, they wind up kind of losing a lot of the shape. Even though they get a little bit more stiff, they're still super soft. But it's easier to make them look right when I stuff them properly. Sorry? Yeah, and he'll stop. He's probably a little uncomfortable and scared. All right, so there we go. All right, let's figure out the size of eyes that we need. Then we can sew this all together. Got to make sure it's plump. Indeed, definitely plump. As an example, using for the Charizards, I started kind of overstuffing them so that they kind of held their shape really well. All right, so we have multiple eye sizes here. All right, buddy, I need you back up just a little bit, please. I need that head. No, that's actually a hood. All right, let me get that from you. If you want to take this for a minute, you can, but don't go too far. Okay, first thoughts. I've been using the big eyes a lot lately. So I made the Slowpoke and the Venomoth with big eyes. But I don't think this needs big eyes. I think that's just too big. The bead eye castle?
The tiny
Yeah.
one. Tiny eye.
And I think tiny eye is going to be better too. Maybe not tiny.
More.
And I think smaller eyes will look a little bit more sly, which I think fits the Snivey. But let's see. Do I need to go smaller? Okay. Yeah. Why did I read castle? That's hilarious. This might be too small. There might not be an in-between. At least not that I have. I think this is the same size. Yeah, these are all the same size. But I could go smaller. Let's see. I've got... Here? No, not smaller? Okay, cool. You are exactly who I'm trying to please here, so that's helpful. And just to show you, what I'm talking about, that's the size difference there. It's not much of a difference.
I heard.
So we have that.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that that's a pretty decent size. You think so? The big ones? Well, let's look and see here. All right, back up, buddy. So, yeah, see? Oh, I didn't realize the Venomoth was here. Can you find that piece that you dropped? Don't worry about it. I'll find it later. Okay. Here's my Venomoth.
My favorite.
Yeah. The big ones? All right. Oh, no. I don't want you on camera.
Why?
Because honestly, it's a weird world out there, and I want to make sure that you are not shown to strangers. I'm trying to protect you.
Why?
It's just safer that way, and I want to keep you safe at all times.
Why?
So we're going big eyes.
Ooh. Strangers? Look on people.
All right, so
Look on.
if you like the big eye spaz, this is definitely what's going on. All right, buddy, I need you to back up just a little bit. Oh, you want to hold the eye? Okay, that's fine, but you have to hold it. And I'm going to center it here. Up. Oh, no. Can't do that while I'm using sharp stuff, okay? Make this big enough.
Stay back. Stay back,
Okay,
Papa.
let's see here. Trying to make this hole big enough to fit the whole thing in. Oh, let me see.
Help you?
Well,
Help?
the problem is that I can't even do that with one hand there. Let's get this in there.
Creaser?
It's a little bit harder to get through, but we'll do it. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to have to use my seam ripper just a little bit.
Hey,
I don't really like doing that, but sometimes I got to make the hole just a little bit bigger than... All right, Vance, I need you to back up just a little bit. Oh, hey. Where'd it go?
Find it.
Okay, I got it.
I got it.
Okay, you can get it. Thank you.
I got it.
All right, thank you so very much. I really appreciate your help. All right, back up just a little bit. This is just the fabric version of what I do daily. I love seeing crochet stuff. I'm a little bit jelly of crochet stuff, kind of like the fabric pinning, or what is it? Felt pinning? Because you get to make the shape of it. I have to turn flat things into the shape. And it's so funny. And I know that for you, you've got to like count stitches and adjust shapes that way. And it's a different technique, but I always feel like crocheting looks so clean, so pretty. And I never feel like what I'm making is quite as pretty as what I want it to be. At least not until I've made it 20 or 30 times. All right, so how do we feel? Does this look good to you guys? I think that's a pretty good shape. Matches what I've got for the drawing. I still got the upturned nose just a little bit. Let's go ahead and put the rest of that together. I got one more eye to put on. I got to put the insides on. These, you want me to stay here? Mommy, stay here? I've been using these big eyes a lot lately. They are cute. But what winds up happening is I go somewhere between wanting to do, let me see if I can find it real quick, wanting to make it derpy and goofy looking with the tiny eyes or the offset eyes, and then just try to make it look a little goofy. And this one winds up being a little bit more cute than goofy looking. And I like that. This one's name is Snivey.
My favorite Pokemon.
Is it your favorite Pokemon?
Pokemon.
Yeah. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good there. But yeah, crocheting does take a lot of practice. I've been crocheting for 5 years, and I'm no pro. It's funny. I'll bet that if people looked at your stuff, they would say that you were pretty darn professional at it. But I get that feeling where you're like, nope, not doing something right. My nose is itching like crazy. All right, now I got to get this other eye in real quick. Let's see if I can get this at least somewhat the same. And use that same process I did last time. See if that works out for me. Oops. So I used to use the seam ripper, and someone told me that what happens is because I'm actually literally tearing the fabric, that it's bad for it. And then they said to use an awl because what happens is it kind of separates the fabric more than tears it. I'm sure it does both, but I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's why I started doing that at some point in time. I like to do my best to learn from people who know what they're doing and implement things that I learn as often as I can. And get this material pulled all the way down. Get that put on.
I keep head.
You keep the head? But I need to sew it on. I need to close it all up.
Here you go.
Thank you. And I actually not sure if I'm going to close this up today or not. Let's go ahead and put just a little bit more fluff in here to get that shape back. What happened was while putting the eyes in, I wound up kind of condensing some of the material in. So now I'm just slightly overstuffing it again. Using this to kind of fluff it up a bit. And here's what we'll have. Oops, let me get this out of the way. Not sewing anymore, so let's move this to kind of get some more. Move my camera.
Look!
Yes, I definitely can. And I learned that somewhere between adjusting my stuff by pulling out some and honestly completely undoing it and then redoing it, that it kind of seems to help out a lot. But I also learned that sometimes when I'm doing another step, like if I start squeezing it and stuff, that I'll compact it and I'll have to use this to kind of readjust the fluff, but it never seems to do enough until I pull it all the way out. And then I just kind of stuff it a little bit slower. All right, so here we go. This is going to be just a real simple attachment, just so we can see what it looks like. I'm not closing everything up because I'm going to do a couple other finishing touches after we get off live. This one is going to be very likely yours completely, but I may, depending on what my son does, I may have to make you a second one. So keep in mind, Spaz, that if there are some changes that you need, just go ahead and let me know, and then we will talk about how I'm going to wind up setting that up. For example, if you want this to be level, the same on both sides, I can definitely do that. I just thought it might be cute to see it uneven. And I might put a stitch across here so that it has that shape as opposed to being kind of thick and empty like that. It'll give it more of a curve, give more foundation to the shape is basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's go ahead and see what this looks like as an in general. Again, I'm just doing a very simple attachment. Since I have to take this off, I'm going to have to do some adjusting and fixing because I really want to get a mouth on there. And since I forgot about it, I'm going to have to do that separate. And I'm just going to get the head on there enough to be able to see what we think it looks like. I might not even tie it off once I get it on. Okay. I'm hoping the head's not still too big. I know that putting the arms on is going to make a difference. Oops, let's get around that. But because the body is really tiny, there's a chance that it'll be super lopsided and won't stand. Now, That's not something that most people are probably concerned with because they're not concerned with it staying standing or not. But it's something that crosses my mind whenever I make something because I want to make sure that it can as often as possible. But now at least we can see what we're going to be looking at. I'm not going to tie that off. We're just going to leave that like that. Trying not to stab myself with it. I'm going to put that right here. So what do you think? I can sew the head down a little bit more. I can probably flatten it just a little bit more because right now it kind of does that. But I don't know if that's a problem. In comparison, like maybe I can sew the head just a little bit more to the back so it keeps the collar down some more. So I'll sew it back a little bit more here. In fact, let's go ahead and see what that does real quick. Put that across. Yeah, I think that'll help out a lot too. It'll help the head sit on there a little bit more even. Sew it back a little bit more. Yeah, see, it's already standing up just a little bit more. So when I sew it on better, I will sew it just a little bit in, and that'll keep the hood back a little bit as well. Let's go ahead and put this in here. No, let's put that on the head so I don't accidentally stab myself. That'd be great. Yeah, I think that'll look good. Because once I sew it to the back just a little bit, it'll cause the collar to come down a little. It's time for bed. Oh, he's still eating. Oops. Wants to invite you to co-host. I don't know you, so I'm going to go ahead and decline that. And then I'll have the little yellow legs, which I will sew in right here. And then I'll have two little green arms that I sew right here, maybe a little bit more to the front. On my sketch, he's got the belly's a little bit more forward, and there's a little bit more body. So maybe it'll go on right here instead. And I think that'll still look good. But yeah, I think that turned out really well. As a one-time, even the tail, the flat tail, sticking out the back of it, with the legs on front, that should help keep it standing a little bit better as well. And then sewing the head back on it a little bit. We didn't come too far from this at all. In fact, I want getting a little bit more of the head shape than what I drew up. So that's kind of nice. And if anybody's wondering, whenever I make these new patterns, I will be making these patterns available. You can make adjustments to it. I can make adjustments to it. You just have to message me for anything that you want. If you are wanting a specific Pokemon, you can send me a message as well. She's so excited about it. Oh, she does. That's fantastic. I wasn't sure if she was watching it or not. I'm so happy about that. So here's another thing. I'm going to go ahead and do something that's going to drive my son crazy if he sees it. So I'm going to try and be very slick about it. Maybe if I can convince my wife to take him back to their room to watch the show. I adjust my lights. I'm going to go get something. You guys wait right here. Keep an eye on Snivey for me. That is on Tubi. Yes, please, buddy.
The series black and white. Yep, come here.
Yay!
Oh, just for a little bit. You guys can help with that. I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're putting. I'm making it. We're making a Pokemon. Probably not going to be yours. All right. Here is what I'm going to do. As a further gift, let me get all my stuff out of the way here. I have a button maker. And Snivey snivey card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a button. Hopefully. It's been a little while since I made these. So let's see here. Get you centered in as best I can. I'm actually going to try and center more of the head because I think what happens is this has got a little bit of excess on it. So if I do a little bit more head on there and cut off some of the tail, it's better than cutting off the head. Oops. Okay, let's see. Best route to go. Right about here. Okay. Maybe I'll make a button out of the rest of this too, depending on circumstances. I like to save all the stuff for everything I'm doing because I'm one of those guys that just kind of saves everything. Put that here. Now I haven't perfected using this thing. The truth of the matter is the last time I did it, I failed like 20 times trying to get it to work just once. So I'm really hoping I don't mess it up this time. So I'm trying to find all my stuff. I've got a box of it over here. I just have to make sure I get everything set up in the right way. So here's the outside. Put that right here. Line you up. Again, trying to keep as much of the head as I can in. All right, wish me luck, everybody. I haven't used this on a daily basis, so I'm not perfected at it. All right, so far so good. This is the part that messed me up several times last time, and it was because I didn't quite get it lined up perfectly. So I'm trying to do that. It doesn't sit perfectly when I do that. So I have to line it up this way. Come on. There we go. Yay! It worked! Oh no. It kind of worked. There's a little bit of excess here. Let's try and... Nope, I can't do that. You're going to have to be a little bit careful with it. It looks like I did not perfectly line up my clear piece. So it's a little bit loose on this side. Trying to decide if it's worth undoing and then redoing. But I think it's going to be okay. I think it's better off that I leave it like this. Because if I try and break the whole thing, I have a feeling that the snivey itself, and I only had that one card, will actually get damaged. So, let me get this out of the way now. We got a snivey and a snivey pin. What do you think? Did that work out okay enough for you? I hope she likes this too. I know that it's not perfect. Again, I haven't done enough with the buttons. So what wound up happening is there's a little bit side of it that is kind of coming up. But I'll make a couple other buttons using some of this other stuff. You know, like a poke or something like that. Maybe the energy type. Okay, I hope she does. All right, so that's where we are. I'm going to do some finishing touches. I'm going to add a little smirk here. I'm going to add the arms. I'm going to stitch this up just a little bit so it holds its shape better. But I think we did pretty well with a single try for a snivey as a special order. Here is my sketch again. Zoom that out just a little bit. I really hope you guys had some fun. If you have any requests, please message me. We can talk it out. I can make some others. I'm not sure which one I'm going to be making next week. I might make a small Vaporeon. I might make a Gengar. I've got a few sketches here from right here. I've been thinking about doing this guy because I really like the way it looks. It's extremely goofy to me. But I might make a small Vaporeon about the same size as my mice, something that can be worn around. And I might make a big cuddly Gengar. Wednesday, I'm going to be doing my Weird Wednesday. I'm going to be making an outfit for my Coraline jumping mouse and sewing on some button eyes. And I hope to see everybody in the next couple days. Thank you for joining me. You have a wonderful night.